Oh, well, yes. Welcome to the Monday call, February 12th. And I want to just pause here and also say I had a call this morning with a newer agent, and we're in Minnesota, but I think regardless of where you're at in the country, she was
hmm
talking about buyers and, moving into the spring market. And I said, I'm like, here's something you need to know as maybe you don't know this as a seasoned agent or especially as a newer agent. At least in Minnesota, the spring market is marked by right after the Super Bowl. So actually, technically today is the
hmm
start of the spring market. And even though we're not having a regular winter and there is no snow here, usually we have a foot of two or so of snow. A lot of people don't understand or kind of make the correlation with the spring market. And another thing that I want to just remind people of is that what you do today will show up, 60 to 90 days from now.
hmm
And I think so many people get caught up in, nothing's happening, nothing's happening, nothing's happening. And knowing that as you're reaching out to people and as you're staying in front of your sphere of influence and your prospects, it truly is a numbers game. I know when I used to go back when I was new and I was on a team that was a well-oiled machine. I was script practicing, I was lead generation, following up, 9 to 11 every day we made prospect calls. And I had to have 20 contacts a day or 100 a week. And I got trained that way. And there were 3 weeks where
Yeah.
nothing would happen. And I was calling and calling and calling. And then the next day, 3 deals would come in, 3 new people, 3 contracts signed. So it is truly, you put the time in and you go and you do the disciplines and you do the dedication and it will come.
hmm
And that's kind of what I also wanted to talk about today is being in February. And I know I've probably said this on every coaching call I've done. So I apologize if I said this last week or the week before. And yet it's really good to hear it over and over again. How was your January? Like truly, how did you show up? And if you set New Year's resolutions, if you broke them, don't feel bad. They usually don't work. What I want you to focus on is disciplines. Like, what can you do today and how can you show up differently? And if you do have goals, which I really hope you have goals,
hmm
look at coming from your goal, not working to your goal. So many of us are working to our goal. And if you come from your goal and from what disciplines that person needs to have, what time do they wake up in the morning? What are they doing? Do they even wrestle with the fact of making their calls or doing their lead gen or reaching out to their sphere, or posting on social media or doing a video? No. So if you're struggling with these things throughout your day or are uncomfortable, I encourage you to get really comfortable being uncomfortable because it's in that uncomfortable space that the growth will happen. I mean, I was terrified when I started doing cold calls and having to call on open houses, and I had no idea I was new to real estate and I was scared. And it's about doing it scared or doing it anyways and pushing through whatever it is that you need to do to get on the other side of it, because when you make the decision, it's often hard to make the decision, maybe hard to get into real estate or hard to make this investment or do this thing. It gets a little bit messy, but once you get through that, on the other side is where the gifts are. And so many people won't first make the hard decision. And when they're in the mess of it, they'll retreat back to the comfort instead of pushing through. And it's in pushing through the middle messy part that you'll get the gift on the other side. So I kind of, that just keeps coming through over and over to me in conversations I'm having and even stuff that I'm listening to from other elite level world-class coaches, is really decide what 3 to 4 things you're going to do to change how you show up this year. And
mm
even if you just switch 3 to 4 things, do one at a time and master that one, I can promise you by the end of the year, you will have changed and created something that you wouldn't have thought possible. But it's
Yeah.
in the discipline and the dedication and the consistency, that if you just stay consistent on one thing, you'll be in the top 1 to 3% by the end of the year, because most people won't. I know I saw another post, Carrie, that said if you picked whether it was karate or mindset or some type of like crocheting or car racing or whatever it is that you might want to do, and if you devoted 18 minutes a day, 18 minutes a day to whatever it is that you truly want to do and you desire, you would be at the end of the year elite.
Yeah.
You would be in the class of elite, because most people, 90 to 95% as I coach, won't do it. And if they do it, they start, stop, because they don't have the discipline around it. So that's where I love talking about, if you come from the person who's already achieved it, of course they did 18 minutes a day. How do you think they got there? And making decisions from that point of view, it just really shifts quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've learned over time is you focus on what you already have some strengths and talents in. We naturally, as human beings, it just makes me think of this when you talk about it, Angie, about focusing on what you're really good at and spending time on task over time on that. Because oftentimes as humans, we think we need to make up for our weaknesses. So we're trying to go bring up the areas that we're not naturally as good. Instead, what we should be doing is spending that time bringing up the areas we're already really naturally good at, because that's how we become elite. Because we're already gifted and talented, we spend time on task on that, and it really, really compounds fast. We're only going to get up to a certain level of good on the things we're not naturally equipped for. And so we're spending a lot of time to get average or just barely above average when we could be elite, Olympic, right? Like you think about this, it's like Michael Jordan didn't decide that he wanted to go try to become a better football player. Now he's kind of a bad example. He actually showed us like he shouldn't do this because he went and played baseball and he wasn't that good at it, but he was really, really good at basketball, right? So that's what he spent his time on task on. When he actually pivoted, retired, and said, I want to try baseball, he really wasn't very good at it. And he's an athlete. He's a very good athlete, and he knows discipline and he knows time on task. And yet he was mediocre at baseball because that wasn't his natural talent. He needed to be focusing his time and energy in that. So what I encourage you guys to realize is, what am I really good at? Where have I gotten my business from? If you have a success in business, if you're new to it, just in general, what are the strengths? How do I attract people? What comes natural to me? What do I just naturally feel comfortable at and I'm good at, even if I'm not great yet, but I can just tell it's something I enjoy doing. I get, when you get joy from something, it's probably a sign that you're already naturally equipped for it. And then really, what can I do to double down and do more and more and more of what I've already been successful at? If you sold 5 houses last year and you got all 5 of those clients from 1 or 2 ways, that's clear that those are the 1 or 2 ways that work for you. So let's double down on that and let's do more time on task, time on task, time on task. So I think that is a message that I heard from you, Angie, even though it wasn't exactly what you were saying, that I felt people needed to hear, is like, how can we help you to remain consistent and to do things consistently over and over and over again and make sure that they're the things that are aligned with you. And really, success is that simple. It's not easy, but it's really that simple, isn't it, Angie?
Absolutely. And we overcomplicate it. And I'm so glad you dove into a little bit more, because when I started on that team, I didn't know what I didn't know. I just knew I had to make this work. And I saw so many people come on the team and very quickly leave within a week or two, because they were so uncomfortable. I mean, they had anxiety, they couldn't sleep, they wanted to throw up at times because the thought of cold calling or door knocking made them physically nauseous and just like put out. And that's where I realized this can be done. And meeting people in real estate, and you and other people throughout my journey, it's truly where I coach and where I work, especially with newer agent, is like, what lights you up? And that's exactly what you said. Where do you show up? Because if you don't want to cold call, and I heard it time after time after time, does not sound good. Your energy is not right. The person on the other end of the phone is really put out and put off, and like, why would no. So it's like, find how you want to do this, because I've seen people grow businesses on only open houses. I've seen people grow businesses on only running networking or, events throughout the year.
Yeah.
Cold calling, dialer all the way. Some people I know have never door knocked and have never and would never make a cold call, and they're tremendously successful.
Yeah.
It's about the consistency.
Yeah. And then I've got people that's all they do is cold call and they're just crushing it. I just got off the phone with a newer agent in Texas and she's doing for sale by owners and she's just being really authentic to herself. She's just going to them, finding out how she can help them. She's not attached to the outcome. She's bringing value. She's meeting people. She's getting referrals. She's getting leads. She's getting business because it's comfortable to her. Like that's just what's comfortable to her. So that's awesome because she's leaning into what she's good at and she's doing more and more and more of it. And then the more she does of it, the more confidence she gets and the more she likes it. And then the more seeds she's planting, which means the more harvest that's going to come. And so sometimes though, you do have to try some different things, right, Angie, in order to know what it is that you really like and what lights you up and what comes more natural. So if you're newer to this and you haven't tried all the different ways of lead generating, try them. On Wednesdays at 2 Eastern, 1 Central, we do a productivity coaching or I'm sorry, productivity training call. So I bring in different people that are really good at different things and they share their lead generation techniques that are bringing them success. When you start to get exposed to different ideas, you'll notice some of them really resonate with you. I want to try that. I'm feeling called to do that for some reason. Some of these things you're going to go, I have no interest in doing that. Then that's okay. Don't do that one. But you also have to have the ideas to know what you should try, give it a little bit of a shot, have a good system and plan around it by learning from somebody else who's already doing it successfully. And then have a coach like Angie or I, or come on our call on Thursdays for accountability or whatever to say, okay, I'm trying this. This is what's working. This is not what's working. And that's how you're going to dial in. What are my 1, 2, or 3 things that I really am going to focus on that are going to help me to have ongoing business opportunities? How do I create the right systems for those? How do I get into the right consistent activities for those? And then how can those things help to grow my business? So.
Yeah, and another thing that I have been diving in a little bit more too, that is along the lines of all of this, is whether you've been in the business 20 minutes or 20 plus years, I think it's really really important to just know that next to consistency is also just knowing that how you show up and who you're talking to. Right now it might not be the time. So it's still staying consistent. It's still staying in front of people regardless of your current results.
Yeah.
I know there were people that I followed up for, 2 years. And I remember this one in particular. She was just like, I emailed, she had wanted email. So I emailed her like every quarter, or it was a month or quarter. And 2 years, I'm not kidding you, 2 years, I emailed her and she's like, I said, if you emailed me one more time, I was absolutely going to work with you because you're of your persistence and of just showing up and doing it over and over and over again. So I think it's something to be said, regardless of where you're at in your business, is really just doing it anyway and deciding how you're going to do it and then sticking with it. So if you are trying a new way, also I caution you, give it some time and know that it might not pop right away. And yet, so know the schedule and know ahead of time what you're going to do throughout, the months or how long you're going to let it take, and stick to the plan. And make the plan up front, stick to it, and just continue to go down that way for sure. It'll make a big difference. Yeah.
Love it. So while we have a few people on the call here, do either of you have questions for Angie? Or I think that you're just getting started, you're doing things we can help with, because we have a few minutes to maybe 5 minutes or so to answer questions for you guys.
Yeah.
So, hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I am planning, well, I had a marketing director of an inspection company reach out to me. And she offered to get lunch for my team, which I'm not really part of a team, I'm a solo agent. So I had the idea to go to the board of directors. Actually, Jen Ginya helped me out with this idea. and see about using a room there. I am kind of questioning where I should reach out to agents. Should I go on Workplace and groups like that? And how should I send out the event for that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm. So tell me a little bit more about the event. What is it that are you doing it with this other person?
yes. So I'm doing it with this other person for their inspection company. They're just trying to get their business out there. And I'm also trying to network and meet other agents as well. So I figured it would be a good opportunity
Yeah.
to take advantage of that. I want to reach as many agents as I can to invite them. So I'm just kind of wondering where to go about that and how to go about it.
So I think when we were talking about if you go into Workplace, have you perused that quite a bit yet, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. If you go into Workplace and you go into you're in Louisville, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Go specifically into that group of Louisville and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this event with this marketing person from this title company. It's going to be a fun event. I was hoping I'd be able to meet some of you and just network. Anybody want to join us? And like put the little bit of information. You'll probably get some people that will chat you underneath. That'd be one way. And then you could also go into your MLS and your local MLS, because that would be people around you. And you can see I mean, most MLSs, you can see a roster of people. So then you can go into search for EXP agents in your MLS.
Okay.
And then you can personally text them or email them in a group and just say, I just wanted to reach out this way too, because some people might not see my Workplace post, but here's what we're doing. Here's why. I'm newer to real estate and EXP, but I really want to meet people. I'm super excited. Like if anybody wants to get together for this networking thing, that would be great. You can also see inside of your Louisville EXP Workplace group, if in fact they already have some local meetups happening, because oftentimes they do. And so you could participate in some of those too. So you can search in there or just kind of peruse that whole news feed for a while and see if you see anything. There's some pinned posts usually in there that would be maybe like reoccurring events that they have or anything like that. Spend some time doing that and definitely just personal reach outs to those local agents. Hey, I'm another fellow EXP agent. I'm newer, but I'm super hungry and driven. I'm good at social media. I want to do some open houses. If you have any need for me to help you with showings or opens, I just want to introduce myself. If they see that you are, if they see that you're active and a go-getter, they'll want to work with you, so.
Yeah, and I think outside of Workplace too, you could even do that in regular Facebook communities.
Yeah, if you have like a local Facebook group that agents are in, for sure.
I was thinking of that as well, but I also just wanted to make sure that I reached out to everyone that I possibly could.
Yeah.
Because I'm super excited about that. The company is going to be supplying lunch.
Yeah.
And everything. So I thought that is just like such a great opportunity, and I'm so excited about that.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like a lunch and learn or whatever it looks like. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love it. It's a great
Cool.
opportunity.
Yeah.
Good.
Very cool. Yeah. Just being out there, meeting people, keep it on your social media, meeting with the title person. They have a lot of tools. Sometimes they can give you tools of lists of neighborhoods, contacts. Like up here, a lot of our title companies help our agents with farming. They might have other things tools that they can give you to help you get business. So yeah, I mean, it's good to meet with lenders. It's good to meet with title companies. It's good to meet with other agents and just start your networking as much as possible just to get into relationships. So
yeah, and if you are new, they'll co-brand with you and they'll do a lot of the expense part of co-branding and getting you the materials and all of that. So that's always nice as a solo new agent too, to have that support and that knowledge, and then just learning along the way, not having to recreate the wheel. It's already done, and you can also have someone help you at a much higher level.
Yes, that's amazing. Okay.
Good. Well, wonderful. Well, I'm not sure. Hopefully everything's okay with Nikki.
I know Nikki's here every week. Maybe something happens, something unexpected, but hopefully she's okay. We'll see her next week. So be back here on Mondays, right? Every Monday at the same time.
And that's something real quick too that just came to me. I kept missing it, but I wanted to say that that's exactly what I wanted to say to the new people and the people that have been in real estate for a while. Watch what you're making an emergency. Like Nikki not showing up, something obviously came up. But I think so often people make a lot of stuff like have to do now, or they get really, really distracted easily. So watch that, be intentional, just set like a week where you're going to be really intentional about watching with what you're doing with your time. Because we don't get any more time. You can't buy more time. It's what activities you're doing with your time. So really pay attention to that and what you're letting distract you or take you off time on task, because it will cost you a lot in the end. So I wanted to quick add that before we wrap up.
Yeah, good thing. What you say yes to means you're saying no to something else.
Yep.
So remember that. So if you say yes to something, ask yourself the question, is this moving the needle forward in my business or my life in some way?
Yep.
If it's not, you probably shouldn't say yes to it right now. And just because you say no to something doesn't mean you're saying no to it forever. You're just saying no to it right now because it just doesn't fit the goals that you have for your life or business today, right? And that's okay. We have to be aware of that. If we don't stop for a minute, like Angie said, and ask ourselves those questions, all of a sudden we'll be pulled in all of these different directions. We'll get to the end of the month and we'll go, what did we even do that benefited our life or our business? And that's not where we want you guys to be. And that's why coming on these calls regularly on Monday, also on Thursdays, if you want to, will just help you stay focused because you'll have that extra conversation, that extra accountability. And that's what we want for you guys. So for this week, who can you go talk to? What can you do that's going to help you move the needle forward? This Wednesday, we do have, a good call coming up if you do want to work with investors. If that's a niche that you'd like to get involved in, I have my business partner, Jeremy Worley, coming on. They did this for me actually on Zoom, but in person at my co-working space. It was a very, very good training. So him and Erica are going to be on at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday on the same Zoom link. So if you want to join in, it's open to anybody. It will be a good training on just understanding how to back yourself with some good data to be a good investor agent. So if you've got investing happening in your market, this might be something that you look into. If not, no big deal. We'll have another one the next Wednesday that you might want to join. All right. Thanks, Angie, for being here. Nice to meet you, Aminata. Hi, Nicole, again. Thanks for being here. We'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great week.
Have a great week.